Have you ever felt invisible? Like you poured your heart, your soul, your very essence into something, only for it to be overlooked, dismissed, or worse, attributed to someone else? In the bustling heart of Cologne, where the ancient Rhine flowed alongside towering modern glass, lived Mira Patel, a young woman who knew that feeling intimately. At 28, she was a junior operations analyst, a title that sounded important on paper but, in reality, meant she existed in the shadows. Her workspace, a small, unassuming desk nestled in the corner, mirrored her professional standing. She was a silent architect of solutions, her mind a vibrant tapestry of innovative ideas, yet her voice was rarely heard. Superiors, cloaked in self-importance, would sweep past her, their eyes fixed on the horizon of their own ambition, never truly seeing the quiet diligence that fueled their department's modest successes. Mira was the cog that kept the machine turning smoothly, the unseen hand that tidied up the messy corners, the silent force behind the occasional flashes of brilliance that her manager, a man named Herr Schmidt, was all too eager to claim as his own. Herr Schmidt was a master of delegation, a virtuoso of self-promotion. He thrived in the limelight, casting long shadows over anyone who might inadvertently share his stage. Mira knew her place. She had learned it through countless instances of her carefully crafted reports being presented by Herr Schmidt with a flourish, her data points becoming his talking points, her insights transmuted into his grand strategies. She rarely spoke up, not out of timidity, but from a quiet dignity that refused to wrestle for recognition in a space where it felt constantly denied. There was a deeper knowing within her, a stubborn belief that true value would eventually, inevitably, find its light. But that day, recognition felt like a distant star, a faint flicker against the vast, indifferent expanse of her corporate sky. She arrived early, as always, the scent of fresh coffee clinging to the air, a lone sentinel in the quiet hum of the awakening office. Her movements were precise, methodical, a reflection of the orderly mind within. She organized her files, checked her schedules, a ritualistic preparation for another day of contributing much and being acknowledged little. The weight of being unseen pressed down on her, not crushing, but a persistent, dull ache. It was a silent burden, one she carried with a certain grace, her shoulders squared, her gaze steady. She had long ago stopped seeking external validation for her work. Her satisfaction came from the elegance of a perfectly solved problem, the efficiency of a well-designed process. She understood the intricacies of the company's sprawling supply chain like no one else, not merely the flow of goods, but the underlying currents of data, the subtle eddies of human interaction. She saw the inefficiencies, the points of friction, the hidden opportunities for transformation. These visions, however, remained largely her own, sketched in hurried notebooks, coded in late-night spreadsheets, refined in the quiet solitude of her office corner. She believed in the power of these ideas, not for her own gain, but for the betterment of the entire system. It was a profound, almost spiritual conviction. She saw the potential for a smoother, more sustainable flow, a system that didn't just move products, but truly moved forward. This conviction was her anchor, her quiet rebellion against the superficiality that often governed corporate life. It was a promise she kept to herself, a secret garden where her true capabilities bloomed, waiting for the day they might finally be revealed to the world. Mira's mind, a complex network of algorithms and possibilities, was constantly at work, even when her outward demeanor was one of quiet diligence. For months, she had been meticulously crafting something extraordinary, a revolutionary new supply chain model. It was not just an optimization, it was a complete paradigm shift, leveraging predictive analytics and real-time data integration to create a system of unparalleled efficiency and resilience. She had poured countless evenings and weekends into its development, fueled by cold coffee and an unyielding passion for problem-solving. Every line of code, every simulated scenario, every data point analyzed was a testament to her dedication, a quiet act of defiance against the unspoken expectation that she simply follow instructions. This model was her magnum opus, a digital sculpture forged from her intellect and foresight. It was designed to slash operational costs, significantly reduce waste, and improve delivery times across the entire global network. She knew, with unwavering certainty, that this model held the key to unlocking staggering new levels of profitability and sustainability for the company. She could see it, almost taste it, the tangible impact it would have, but it existed only on her encrypted hard drive, a testament to her talent, hidden from the very people it was designed to help. She had tried, subtly at first, to introduce elements of her model into her routine reports, hoping Herr Schmidt might notice the underlying genius. But his attention span was famously short, his focus primarily on appearances, not substance. He saw numbers, not the intricate dance of logic that created them. He wanted bullet points for his presentations, not profound structural changes that might disturb his comfortable mediocrity. Each attempt was met with a dismissive wave of the hand or a patronizing nod, her suggestions absorbed into the larger, less ambitious initiatives that bore his name. She had almost given up on ever presenting the full scope of her work, resigning herself to its theoretical perfection, its unfulfilled promise. Yet, the belief in its power never waned. It was too elegant, too transformative to simply gather dust. She kept refining it, polishing it, adding layers of complexity and robustness, as if preparing it for a grand unveiling that might never come. This hidden masterpiece was both a source of quiet pride and a wellspring of frustration. It was a constant reminder of the gap between her capabilities and her perceived value, between her potential and her reality. She harbored no resentment, only a deep-seated yearning for her work to be seen, to be understood, to be truly put into action. She wasn't seeking fame or personal glory. She simply wanted the profound impact of her creation to ripple outwards, to improve the lives of others, to solve tangible problems in the real world. That was her greatest desire, the quiet ambition that burned brightly within her. The morning of the fateful meeting dawned like any other, gray and unremarkable. Mira followed her usual routine, preparing the agenda for the weekly logistics review. It was a mundane task, filled with tedious administrative details, confirming attendees, distributing outdated reports, setting up the video conference link. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, a blur of practiced motion, her mind half engaged, already running simulations of supply chain optimizations. She clicked, typed, copied, pasted, a rhythm of quiet efficiency. The list of invitees was standard: Herr Schmidt, a few other junior analysts, perhaps someone from the warehousing department. She scrolled through the company directory, selecting names from the familiar list. But in a fleeting moment of distraction, perhaps a momentary lapse in focus, or a subtle error of autofill, she accidentally included a name that sent a jolt of ice through her veins: Klaus Reinhardt. The name was synonymous with power, with immense wealth, with the very foundation of the company's global empire. Klaus Reinhardt was not just an investor, he was the investor, a titan of industry, rarely seen, often spoken of in hushed, reverent tones. He was the architect of their prosperity, the man whose capital sustained their entire operation. He lived in the rarefied air of corporate stratagem, far removed from the day-to-day grind of junior analysts. A shiver ran down Mira's spine. It was a mistake, a monumental, career-ending blunder. A wave of nausea washed over her. She imagined Herr Schmidt's fury, the incredulous stares of her colleagues, the immediate, undeniable stain on her record. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the pre-office morning. She frantically searched for the undo button, for a way to retract the invitation, to erase the digital trace of her catastrophic error. But it was too late. The email had already been sent, the digital signal already propagated through the company's vast network. The invitation was out there, a tiny, innocuous link, now a loaded gun pointed directly at her career. She felt a profound sense of dread, a cold knot forming in the pit of her stomach. There was nothing to do but wait. Wait for the inevitable backlash, the swift, merciless hand of corporate consequence. The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. She replayed the moment in her head, dissecting it, searching for an escape, a loophole, anything. There was nothing, just the chilling certainty of her mistake. The meeting time approached, and she logged into the video call, her hands slightly trembling. She watched the participants list populate, praying, irrationally, that Klaus Reinhardt's name would not appear. But then, a digital chime, a quiet notification, and there it was, his name, bold and undeniable, joining the call. He was just a small square on the screen, a stern, unreadable face. But his presence filled the virtual room, an almost palpable force. The air crackled with unspoken tension. Mira felt her throat tighten, her breath catch in her chest. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a potential disaster. The digital chime announcing Klaus Reinhardt's entrance reverberated not just through the speaker, but through Mira's very core. It was a sound that seemed to suck all the air from the virtual room. On the screen, Klaus Reinhardt's face was a study in gravitas, his eyes sharp and analytical, his expression unreadable. He was a man who exuded authority without needing to utter a single word. His presence alone was enough to make the most confident executives falter, and falter they did. Mira watched as Herr Schmidt, who minutes before had been preening, adjusting his tie, and delivering a pompous opening monologue, physically recoiled. His face, usually a mask of smug self-assurance, turned a sickly shade of pale. His jaw slackened, his eyes widened, darting between Mira, the screen, and some unseen refuge. He mumbled, stammered, his carefully rehearsed lines evaporating into thin air. He was a deer caught in headlights, utterly paralyzed by the unexpected weight of the moment. The meeting, which had just barely begun, ground to a halt. An awkward, heavy silence descended, broken only by the faint hum of servers and the distant city sounds filtering through open windows. Herr Schmidt, the self-proclaimed leader, was rendered utterly useless, reduced to a quivering mess of indecision. He looked at Mira, a silent accusation in his eyes, as if she had orchestrated this catastrophe on purpose. His inability to act, to even form a coherent sentence, hung in the air like a shroud. The silence stretched, becoming unbearable, filled with the unspoken question, who would speak? Klaus Reinhardt's gaze swept across the blank faces of the participants, then settled, with an unnerving intensity, on Herr Schmidt, who immediately averted his eyes. It was a moment of profound corporate paralysis, a vacuum of leadership. Mira felt a surge of fear, a primal instinct to shrink, to disappear. This was Herr Schmidt's meeting, his responsibility, his failure. But then, another emotion began to rise within her, slowly at first, then with an unstoppable force: indignation. Not for herself, but for the work, for the wasted opportunity, for the sheer incompetence on display. She saw the invaluable time of a major investor being squandered, the potential for meaningful engagement evaporating in the face of one man's panic. This wasn't about her mistake anymore. It was about the integrity of the work, the truth that deserved to be heard. A quiet, resolute determination settled over her. Her hands, which had been trembling, steadied. Her breath deepened. This was her chance, unforeseen and terrifying, but a chance nonetheless. Her model, the one she had poured her life into, deserved to be seen. It was too important to be lost in this quagmire of fear and ineptitude. She glanced at Herr Schmidt one last time, seeing only his frozen terror, and knew she could not rely on him. The decision was made. With a deep breath that seemed to gather all her courage, Mira straightened her shoulders. Her voice, usually soft and deferential, emerged with unexpected clarity, cutting through the suffocating silence. "Mr. Reinhardt," she began, her tone calm, professional. "My apologies for the accidental inclusion on this invite. This is typically an internal review." However, if you would permit me, I believe I have something of value to share that may be of interest to you and the company's future. Her voice did not waver. The words were not a plea, but a statement of intent, a quiet assertion of her worth. The eyes of everyone on the call, including the stony gaze of Klaus Reinhardt, snapped to Mira. Herr Schmidt let out a strangled gasp, a sound of horror and disbelief, as if Mira had just committed an unspeakable corporate heresy. But Mira ignored him. Her focus was solely on the screen, on the man who held the company's destiny in his hands. She took another deep breath, the initial rush of fear now replaced by a strange, exhilarating clarity. "My name is Mira Patel," she began, her voice gaining strength with each word. "I am a junior operations analyst here. For the past several months, I've been quietly developing a new supply chain model. It's a comprehensive framework designed to optimize our global logistics, reduce operational costs by an estimated 18%, and significantly enhance our resilience against unforeseen disruptions." As she spoke, her fingers moved instinctively, swiftly navigating through her presentation slides. The first slide appeared on the shared screen, a clean, elegant design, devoid of corporate jargon, featuring a compelling diagram of interconnected nodes and flowing lines. It was a visual representation of the complex system she had envisioned, a testament to her meticulous planning and creative foresight. She didn't rely on notes. The entire model, every detail, every potential scenario, every solution, was etched into her mind. She spoke with an earnestness that resonated, with a passion that was undeniable. She explained the underlying algorithms, the predictive capabilities, the real-time tracking integration. She detailed how the new system would not merely react to demand, but anticipate it, how it would identify bottlenecks before they became critical, how it would streamline processes from procurement to last-mile delivery. Her words were precise, her arguments logical, her confidence growing with every sentence. She spoke of data-driven decisions, of lean methodologies, of sustainable practices that would reduce their carbon footprint. She outlined the ROI with compelling figures, backing every claim with meticulously researched projections. She wasn't just presenting data, she was painting a vision, a future where the company operated with unparalleled efficiency and strategic advantage. Herr Schmidt, initially stunned into silence, now sputtered, attempting to interject, "Mira, what are you?" But Klaus Reinhardt, his eyes narrowed in a gaze of intense concentration, raised a hand, silencing him without a word. His focus remained entirely on Mira. He leaned forward slightly, his expression shifting from detached observation to genuine interest. He began to nod slowly, almost imperceptibly, as Mira eloquently articulated the nuances of her model. She presented a live simulation, a mesmerizing display of goods flowing seamlessly through an optimized network, starkly contrasting it with the company's current, often chaotic system. The difference was staggering, undeniable. Her voice, once relegated to hushed whispers in the background, now filled the virtual space with authority and undeniable expertise. It was the voice of a true innovator, a visionary, a master of her craft. She wasn't seeking validation, she was simply revealing the truth, the profound truth of her brilliant work. The sheer intellectual horsepower on display was captivating. This was not a junior analyst reciting bullet points. This was a strategist, a problem solver, operating at a level far beyond her given station. The room, both virtual and physical, was captivated. Klaus Reinhardt's silence, once intimidating, now felt like an invitation. As Mira transitioned from one compelling slide to the next, explaining the intricate algorithms and cost-saving projections, his posture shifted. He was no longer just observing, he was actively engaged, his sharp eyes scrutinizing every detail, his mind clearly working through the implications of her radical proposals. When she finished her main presentation, a hushed silence descended once more, but this time it was different. It was not the silence of awkwardness or fear, but of profound contemplation. The virtual room held its collective breath. Then, Klaus Reinhardt spoke, his voice deep and resonant, cutting through the quiet, like a finely honed blade. Miss Patel, he began, his tone devoid of emotion, yet carrying immense weight. Explain to me the predictive analytics model you've integrated. Specifically, how does it account for unforeseen geopolitical disruptions, given the current volatility of global markets? His question was incisive, designed to test the depth of her understanding, to find any weakness in her meticulously constructed edifice. It was the kind of question that would trip up even seasoned executives. Mira, however, did not hesitate. Her mind, a vast repository of data and theoretical constructs, instantly accessed the relevant information. She explained, with precise detail, how her model incorporated real-time geopolitical risk assessment data, leveraging machine learning to adjust supply chain routes, reallocate resources, and even preemptively secure alternative suppliers in the face of political instability or natural disasters. She didn't just answer the question, she expanded on it, demonstrating an understanding that went far beyond mere theory, showing a practical, actionable application. Her clarity and confidence were astounding. Klaus Reinhardt listened, his expression unwavering, but a subtle nod of approval, almost imperceptible, flickered across his face. He posed another question, then another, each one designed to push the boundaries of her knowledge, to uncover any superficiality. He questioned her assumptions, probed her data sources, challenged her projections. With each query, Mira responded with unwavering conviction, her answers not only accurate but layered with a comprehensive understanding of the intricate global systems at play. She was not merely reciting facts, she was articulating a deeply ingrained comprehension. Herr Schmidt, meanwhile, sat frozen, his mouth slightly agape, a mixture of disbelief and dawning horror contorting his features. His attempts to interject earlier had been decisively shut down by Klaus Reinhardt's silent command, and now he could only watch as Mira, his junior analyst, effortlessly navigated a conversation far above his own intellectual pay grade. The realization of what was unfolding before him began to sink in. His quiet, overlooked employee was not just competent, she was brilliant, undeniably so, and he had tried to keep that brilliance hidden. Klaus Reinhardt leaned back, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. He let out a slow, deliberate breath, as if a great weight had been lifted. Miss Patel, he said, his voice now carrying a hint of genuine admiration. Your presentation is, frankly, astounding. This is not merely an optimization, it is a revolution. And you developed this on your own? Mira nodded simply. Yes, sir. It has been a passion project of mine for some time. The admission hung in the air, a stark contrast to the company's often slow bureaucratic pace. Klaus Reinhardt looked at Herr Schmidt, his gaze cold and penetrating, a silent question passing between them that needed no words. Then he turned back to Mira. Thank you, Miss Patel. This meeting, while accidental, has proven to be the most insightful I've had in years. The line disconnected, the square on the screen where Klaus Reinhardt's face had been, suddenly blank. The silence that followed was deafening, charged with the weight of what had just transpired. The aftermath of Klaus Reinhardt's unexpected departure was thick with unspoken tension. Herr Schmidt, finally breaking free from his stunned paralysis, turned on Mira, his face contorted in a mixture of anger and panic. Mira, what in the blazes was that? Are you insane? You usurped my meeting. You spoke out of turn. Do you have any idea the protocols you violated, the sheer audacity of your actions? His voice was a harsh whisper, laced with barely contained fury, as if the very walls of the office might report his outburst. He gestured wildly, his hands shaking, his entire demeanor radiating a frantic desperation. This could be catastrophic, my career, our department. You've single-handedly jeopardized everything. His concern was not for the company, nor for the potential benefits of Mira's model, but entirely for his own precarious position. He saw only the disruption, the breach of his carefully constructed illusion of competence, the direct threat to his authority. He fumed, pacing Mira's small corner, his shadow falling menacingly over her desk. Mira, however, remained calm. Her earlier adrenaline rush had subsided, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. She had spoken her truth, shown her work. The outcome, whatever it might be, was beyond her control. She looked at Herr Schmidt, not with defiance, but with a clear, unwavering gaze. Herr Schmidt, she said, her voice steady, I simply presented a solution to a problem. Our company faces challenges, and I offered a way forward. Mr. Reinhardt seemed to understand the value. Her words, simple and direct, only seemed to inflame him further. Value? Do you know who that man is? He doesn't come to routine team meetings. He doesn't listen to junior analysts. This was an unmitigated disaster of your making. He continued his tirade, lost in his own self-pity and fear. Completely oblivious to the faint admiration that might have flickered in the eyes of other team members who had witnessed Mira's extraordinary performance. They had seen her brilliance, seen his paralysis, and the contrast was stark. Mira simply nodded, absorbing his anger without absorbing its venom. She gathered her papers, her movements deliberate, unhurried. She returned to her usual tasks, the mundane rhythm of her daily work, as if the seismic event of the last hour had never occurred. But something had shifted. A quiet whisper spread through the office, carried on the invisible currents of curiosity and awe. People looked at Mira differently now, not with the usual dismissive glance, but with a flicker of recognition, a hint of respect. They knew what they had witnessed. They had seen a hidden gem reveal her true luster. Meanwhile, Klaus Reinhardt, back in his opulent office overlooking the city, wasted no time. He was a man of action, a visionary who recognized true potential when he saw it. He immediately summoned his closest advisors, not to discuss Mira's accidental invitation, but to discuss her revolutionary model. He tasked his executive team with a comprehensive analysis of Mira's proposal, demanding an expedited assessment of its feasibility and projected impact. He bypassed bureaucratic channels, cut through red tape, driven by the urgency of a discovery that promised to redefine their future. He understood that true innovation rarely came from the expected places. It often germinated in the quiet corners, nurtured by the overlooked and underestimated. He had seen too many promising ideas suffocated by corporate inertia, too many brilliant minds stifled by the very structures designed to foster progress. Mira Patel was different. She was a force waiting to be unleashed. He saw not just a model, but a mind, a strategic asset that needed to be leveraged, not ignored. He moved swiftly, decisively, like a master chess player making a pivotal move. He was not interested in punishing Mira for her mistake. He was interested in rewarding her for her genius. The wheels of profound change had begun to turn, quietly at first, but with an inexorable momentum, setting the stage for Mira's extraordinary transformation. The next 2 months were a blur of hushed whispers and strange undercurrents. Mira continued her work, diligent as ever, but the air around her felt different. Colleagues, who once barely acknowledged her presence, now offered tentative smiles, a few even stopping by her desk with questions that hinted at admiration. Herr Schmidt, for his part, was a ghost of his former self. His boisterous confidence had evaporated, replaced by a nervous twitch and a perpetually furrowed brow. He spoke less, fretted more, and meticulously avoided eye contact with Mira. He seemed to sense the impending shift, the invisible hand of consequence tightening its grip. Rumors, like seeds on the wind, began to circulate through the company. Whispers of a major strategic initiative were followed by mentions of logistics innovation and, most significantly, the name Klaus Reinhardt. No one connected these dots directly to Mira, but the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Then, one crisp morning, the email arrived. It wasn't from Herr Schmidt, nor from HR. It was a direct summons from the executive assistant of Klaus Reinhardt himself. Mira was requested, with immediate effect, to attend a private meeting at the company's executive headquarters, a floor she had only ever seen in company brochures. Her heart hammered, but it was not with fear this time. It was with a profound sense of destiny. She dressed meticulously, her hands steady, a quiet strength radiating from her. The meeting room was vast and opulent, filled with polished mahogany and panoramic views of the city. Klaus Reinhardt sat at the head of a long, imposing table, flanked by several senior executives she recognized from annual reports. Herr Schmidt was conspicuously absent. Klaus Reinhardt greeted her with a rare, genuine smile. "Miss Patel," he began, his voice warm. "Please, have a seat." Mira sat, her gaze unwavering. "We've had our team thoroughly review your supply chain model," he continued, gesturing to the silent executives around him. "The findings are unanimous. It is, as I suspected, truly groundbreaking. It will not only revolutionize our logistics, but set a new industry standard." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "We believe so strongly in its potential that we are not simply implementing it, we are building an entire division around it. Effective immediately, we are establishing the Global Logistics Innovation Division. And Miss Patel, we want you to lead it." The words hung in the air, echoing with monumental significance. A division, a whole department, created from her vision, built for her to lead. It was a leap from junior analyst to division head, a vertical ascent so steep it defied all conventional corporate trajectories. Mira felt a profound sense of calm. It was not surprise that washed over her, but a deep satisfaction, a validation of years of unseen dedication. "My team and I," Klaus Reinhardt continued, "believe you possess the unique blend of technical mastery, strategic foresight, and quiet determination to drive this forward. This division will report directly to me, ensuring you have the resources and autonomy required for success." The implications were staggering. She wasn't just being promoted, she was being empowered. She wasn't just being recognized, she was being entrusted with a mandate for profound change. She had imagined this moment, dreamed of it, but the reality surpassed even her wildest aspirations. It wasn't about power or status, it was about the work, about seeing her vision become a tangible reality, about making a real, lasting impact. This was the moment her hidden gem was finally unearthed, polished, and set brilliantly into the crown of the company's future. The official announcement reverberated through the company like a sonic boom. The creation of the Global Logistics Innovation Division, and, more shockingly, Mira Patel as its appointed head, dominated every conversation. The news was met with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and a grudging respect for the quiet young woman who had seemingly come out of nowhere. For Mira, the transition was swift and surreal. Her corner desk was replaced by a spacious, modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Her quiet solitude was now filled with the hum of a bustling team, hand-picked for their expertise, eager to work under her visionary leadership. She moved through the hallways with a new posture, not one of arrogance, but of confident purpose. Her voice, once hushed, now commanded attention, not because of her title, but because of the substance of her words, the clarity of her vision. The true moment of dramatic irony, however, arrived with the inevitable realignment of reporting structures. It was a crisp Monday morning when Herr Schmidt, his face even paler than the day of the video call, entered Mira's new office. He carried a small file, his shoulders slumped, his usual swagger replaced by a defeated air. He avoided her gaze, focusing instead on a point just over her shoulder. "Miss Patel," he mumbled, his voice devoid of its usual bluster. "I just received the new organizational chart. It appears. It appears I will be reporting to your division for the strategic implementation phase of the new model." He placed the file on her desk, carefully aligning it with the edge, as if the precision might somehow obscure the painful reality. Mira looked at him, not with triumph, nor with malice, but with a quiet understanding. There was no joy in seeing his downfall, only the satisfaction of merit having found its true place. "Thank you, Herr Schmidt," she said, her voice calm and professional. "I appreciate your cooperation. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'll be relying on your team's support." She could have gloated. She could have reminded him of his past dismissals, his condescending tones, his casual disregard for her contributions. But that wasn't who Mira was. Her triumph was in the work itself, in the recognition of her talent, not in the humiliation of others. She had nothing to prove to him anymore. Her new reality spoke for itself. Herr Schmidt mumbled another incoherent response, a fleeting apology perhaps, or a plea for understanding before retreating from her office, the weight of his new reality visibly pressing down on him. He, the gatekeeper who had guarded the status quo with such zealous mediocrity, was now a subordinate to the very talent he had sought to suppress. It was a profound lesson in the often unseen forces of karma, a stark reminder that true leadership isn't about titles or authority, but about recognizing and nurturing potential. Mira watched him go, a faint sigh escaping her lips. The past was behind her. Her focus was now squarely on the future, on building her division, on bringing her revolutionary model to full fruition. She knew the path ahead would be challenging, but she was no longer alone. She was seen, she was valued, and she was empowered. Her journey from the shadows to the forefront was complete, not through cunning or ambition, but through the sheer, undeniable force of her own quiet brilliance. The silence of her old corner office had given way to the vibrant hum of innovation. Mira's Global Logistics Innovation Division quickly became the engine of the company's renewed success. Her supply chain model, once a hidden treasure, now generated astonishing results. Operational costs plummeted, efficiency soared, and the company's market position solidified, even in the face of economic turbulence. Mira herself remained grounded, her success never breeding arrogance. She fostered a culture of collaboration and mutual respect within her team, ensuring that every voice was heard, every idea considered. She remembered what it felt like to be unseen, and she vowed that no one under her leadership would ever experience that debilitating invisibility. She championed talent from unexpected places, proving time and again that genius often blossomed in the most unassuming corners. Her former manager, Herr Schmidt, continued to report to her, a constant, albeit subtle, reminder of her journey. He watched her lead, her clear directives, her unwavering vision, and slowly, grudgingly, something akin to respect began to replace his initial resentment. He saw the company transforming, not just surviving, but thriving, and he knew, deep down, that it was Mira's doing. Her story became a legend within the company, a whispered tale of how true merit could, against all odds, rise to its rightful place. It served as a powerful testament to the idea that potential often lies dormant, waiting for the right moment, or the right person, to recognize and unleash it. Mira's triumph wasn't just hers. It was a victory for every overlooked individual, a beacon of hope for anyone feeling stifled or unseen. It was a reminder that true power isn't in a title, but in the unwavering belief in one's own capabilities and the courage to act when opportunity, however accidental, arises. So, what about you? Are you holding back a brilliance that the world needs to see? Are you dimming your light, waiting for permission to shine? Remember Mira. Remember her quiet dedication, her unshakable belief, her courage to step into the void when others faltered. Your unique talent, your hidden gem, might be the very thing that transforms your world, or even the world around you. Don't wait to be discovered. Reveal yourself. Don't wait for permission. Create your own opportunity. Share this story with someone who needs to be reminded of their own untapped potential. Comment below if you've ever felt unseen, and what you did to finally let your light shine. Your journey to recognition might begin simply by believing in the profound value that only you can bring. It's time to stop feeling invisible and start making your mark.